Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. We are excited that you have joined us for our informative session on how to prepare your profitable pitch. My name is Shayla White Bowden, and I'm proud to be the Chief Operating Officer of the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce and the Executive Director of our SBA Women's Business Center. Our center is funded through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration to empower women-led organizations by introducing resources that provide tools, access to capital, and for you to build valuable business relationships. We offer monthly educational and business workshops designed to educate you on what it takes to be a successful business owner. And we cover a variety of relevant topics led by distinguished and informative speakers and panelists to help you build capacity. And in addition, we offer technical assistance, B2B opportunities, and counseling with subject matter experts at no cost to you. So we hope that you can join us for an upcoming virtual learning opportunity. Again, today we will learn how to prepare your profitable pitch and master the art of what to say and how to say it to land lucrative deals. Join us Monday, September 23rd, to discover best practices for AI prompt generation and how to utilize generative AI to create content. And you don't want to miss the opportunity to learn how to build the foundation of a marketing plan, assemble an AI marketing toolkit, and ensure responsible AI use. And that's going to be on September the 23rd. On Monday, October the 7th, we will learn about the power of capital and the essential elements of financial management. All of our educational workshops are from 12 to 1. Our events and registration can be found on our website, but I'll also drop the link in the chat in just a few moments. Our Women's Business Center is excited to partner with the Verizon Foundation to support small businesses by promoting the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready platform. So on this platform, you can view learning modules specifically tailored to your business. You can network with other business owners, receive free coaching, and also become eligible for a grant opportunity after watching 2 videos. So over the course of the year, Verizon will be deploying more than $1 million in total grant funding to small businesses. So if you have not registered for this program, please do so today and take advantage of this resource that offers free skills trainings for entrepreneurs. And so you become eligible for the next $10,000 grant opportunity. The Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce hosts the SBA Women's Business Center. We are a nonprofit business organization of highly influential and diverse women and men dedicated to the advancement and empowerment of women through avenues of leadership, education, advocacy, and mentoring. So we're the place where women do business. We represent over 1,300 member businesses from Fortune 500 companies to small women-led organizations. And our newsletter, The Connection, provides the opportunity for our members to reach over 24,000 business leader subscribers through our advertising and article opportunities. Our program of work is extensive. We have 5 regional chapters giving you access to network and connect with businesses from Baytown, Bay Area, Fort Bend, Montgomery County, and Central Houston. So you want to stay in contact with our team and subscribe to our newsletter to receive our event information and announcements, and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Don't forget to tune into our Global Business Women's podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Again, I'm thrilled that you joined us today for this educational session, specifically for small business owners to understand how to create a compelling pitch that lead to high quality prospects, leveraging multiple mediums to share your message and land dream clients. So this session today will provide you with the valuable insights on how to position yourself for profitability with easy to implement pitches that attract decision makers who will say yes to your offer. So I am excited to have Tiffany Washington. She is the founder and CEO of Transformation 7 here with us today to guide us through this discussion. So starting off today's conversation is the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce Women's Business Center Advisory Board Chair, and distinguished financial professional Courtney Taylor. She is the Senior Vice President and Community Development Officer at Veritex Community Bank. Courtney is a key leader at the bank with over a decade of experience driving excellence in the banking industry, and her dedication extends beyond her role as she's actively involved in the community and several initiatives, including financial literacy programs and empowering others through education and promoting economic growth. And Courtney's leadership and impact has earned her numerous accolades, including being named Houston Business Journal Woman to Watch and a 2024 40 Under 40 honoree. So, for those of you who are on the call right now, please help me welcome our distinguished business leaders by introducing yourself and your business to them in the chat. So, Courtney will introduce our speaker. Courtney?
All righty. Well, good afternoon, ladies. I'm so glad to have you all with us this afternoon. I'm excited because I get to introduce our distinguished speaker this afternoon. Her resume is wonderful. She's done some amazing different things, and I'm so excited to have her because I get to learn with everybody else too. So I'm going to tell you all about Miss Tiffany A. Washington. She is a former school principal turned professional speaker, author, and business and leadership consultant. Her consultancy, Transformation 7 LLC, helps leading organizations that value high performance teams eradicate toxicity, accelerate productivity, and decrease operational cost. Her work has allowed her to keynote for multi-billion-dollar companies, not million, but multi-billion-dollar companies such as Rolls-Royce and Humana, and provide specialized services for large urban school districts like HISD. Tiffany has also had the honor of presenting a TED Talk on the campus of the prestigious Rice University. She's got 20 years of leadership experience, which has helped her hire over 400 people for the 25th annual Essence Festival. That is the largest cultural festival of its kind. To top it off, Tiffany is a recurring guest expert on the CW and Fox networks and has been featured in Forbes magazine. Weekly, Tiffany coaches C-suite executives and small business owners on the art of personal leadership, team building, company growth, and effective communication. And in her book, Book Your Brilliance Accelerator, her proven program that supports leaders in achieving personal and professional profitability. Tiffany's superpower is building thriving, sustainable teams. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from Dillard University and a master's degree in education from the University of Texas. So, ladies, we have got the creme de la creme. We've got the best that it is. Tiffany, I'm going to welcome you on in and you can take it over. It's your show now. Thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney, for that introduction. It's so great to be back in your presence. And thank you, Shayla, for having me as well. These ladies are superstars in their own right. So that I'm sure that you all have been experiencing wonderful programming over this last year. And I'm excited to share with you how you can actually get a profitable pitch. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you for sharing a bit of your time. So we're going to jump right into it. And as I am preparing my slideshow, I want you all to tell me, where are you in business right now? I want you to place a 1 in the chat if you've been in business anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and a 2 in the chat if you've been in business for more than 3 years. So those are ways I'm going to know how to finesse my words, if you will, for those of you who are in the room, so I can speak to both parties appropriately. And give me a thumbs up, because I have if you see me looking over to the right or to the left, it's because I'm looking at your chat comments so I can see who I'm working with, because I don't want to pull them up on screen. So make sure you put a thumbs up in the chat if you can see my screen, just so I can be sure I'm on the same page with you all. Okay, so I see a good mix of 1s and 2s. So 3 years or less, and then a few 3 years or more. So let's hop into it. As Courtney mentioned, I am Tiffany A. Washington. So I won't go through my formal introduction again, because she did a beautiful job of doing that. And you also heard who I have been able to work with. And one of the things that is unique about the way in which I've been able to work is I leverage my skills as a school principal in order to transition into the corporate contracting world. So I actually own an agency that delivers products and services based around toxic teams, essentially. So it started with a book, and that book kind of helped to create a platform for me and for my consultancy. And it was at that time that I knew I have so many skills, but I don't think I like my job anymore. I think I want to do something else because my job was moving away from rewarding and it was moving into slowly crushing my soul. And I want you to put "it's me" in the chat if you've ever had a job where it was like, why am I here? What am I doing in this place? I need to get out. That's where I was as a school principal after serving for so many years. Okay, I see some "it's me" in the chat, so you all can resonate with this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that jobs are bad. We love jobs. Jobs stimulate our economy and they stimulate our pockets. So no shade to any jobs because we need them, right? And your job is also to be an entrepreneur and to be a fruitful entrepreneur at that. And I decided that that's what I wanted for myself after having served 8 years inside of K through 12 education. And it was mainly because of what I like to call a work hag. And that is a term that I coined in my book. And that term means that a work hag is a maliciously vicious colleague whose primary goal is to void the workplace of positive human interaction and use their venomous nature to poison the climate and culture of work communities. So I love my job, but sometimes the people within the job were were difficult to work with, for lack of a better term. And that got me to thinking, how can I use this experience after I moved through it, right? How can I use this experience for my benefit? And that's when I started to put together that I could write a book about how I overcame this situation and I can help other teams to do so as well. So that came my book, 21 Day Guide, a 21-day guide to experiencing spiritual success in the face of workplace difficulty. And the title of that book is called Women Winning at Work. And the reason why I'm sharing this part of the story with you is because I had to learn how to tap into the skills that I already had to create a business that would work for me. So I took an audit. I was able to speak and I was able to train and I was able to coach. So I took those three elements alongside my desire to write and I put them all in one package and started selling my services to companies and corporations. So what did that do? That gave me the opportunity to have way more social proof, be in way more rooms, not only build my own stages, but help to build companies and teams in other places. So I have a question for you all. What proven skills do you possess that could be making you more money? That's what I'm curious to know right now. Some of you all have already figured it out. But the people who are in that one category that I mentioned earlier may still be trying to figure it out. And I see you all in inside of the chat. Some people are saying, "Ooh, same story, different cast." It was my situation. Oh my gosh, this was me. Too many work hags. Oh, Alicia, how are you doing? Good to see you in here. That's so funny. I knew a few of those people. All right, so I see you all putting in here speaking, training, whatever your skill is. What I want you to know is we sometimes downplay the level of ability that we have because we think if we didn't do it for that many people or if we didn't do it for a big enough audience, then it doesn't count. That is absolutely incorrect. You have experiences, you have results that you've created for others, and you have both formal and informal education that you can utilize to get your company in front of B2B players, essentially. And that B2B stands for business to business. So let me tell you a little bit about how I did that, and then I'm going to walk you through what you would need to say in order to start doing business with other companies and corporations who actually desire to pay you for what it is that you know and that you are able to do. So it started out with the city of Houston for me, and there was a contract on the table. It's that contract started out at 34K, and I was able to negotiate that up to a 75K opportunity. Why was this significant for me? Because it was one of my very first contracts about 8 years ago. And at that time, I realized, wait, I also have the power to negotiate and ask for what I want. Oh, and they will pay me more than what my salary was working in a K through 12 environment. I'll take it. I'm sold. And I only was contracted for a 10-month assignment, and it usually only took up about 3 days of my time, and not even full days, like 4 to 6 hour time frames that I was utilizing. And I want to know from you, I'm curious for you all, who has the desire to garner some B2B business? Doesn't have to be through coaching or consulting, but who has a desire to garner some business opportunities that aren't just one-to-one? Okay, I see some yes, yes, yes in the chat. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm speaking to the right crowd. Wanted to make sure. So here are some examples of what I've been able to do inside of my consulting company and the type of contracts I've been able to garner on behalf of my company. And I'm not saying this to brag or to boast, because certainly there are plenty of people who are making way more money than I am. But what I noticed is that if I could get someone to pay my company $25,000 or $50,000 or $120,000 and so on, then I could create a sense of stability for myself and for my family, and then for the rest of the community that I was serving. Because generally, that's the way in which it goes. First, you have to stabilize yourself, then you stabilize your family, and then you can stabilize any external people that you desire to help, right? So the more that we can earn, the more good that we can do. And that's one of the mantras that I tend to live by. It's not something to be ashamed about to do well, because we do well so that we can do good. We can't do good if we don't do well inside of our businesses. So that being said, these types of contracts came in the forms of like Spring ISD. For those of you who are in Houston, you know these independent school districts, Houston ISD. And I've been able to garner these contracts simultaneously, meaning that I might have a 25K contract with one school, but I have a $138,000 contract with a different school. So what does that mean? I'm not only multiplying my money, I'm also multiplying myself, meaning that I'm taking on team members. I'm taking on other people who have entrusted themselves alongside me. And I'm sharing this story with you because that's only the half of it, if you will, because what I really got in return is a formula. By moving through these different opportunities, I got clarity in my mission, confidence in my ability to convert potential clients into paying customers, and consistency in maintaining relationships. And when you're thinking about, man, how do I start getting multi-six-figure contracts inside of my company? It really is about first your clarity, then your confidence, and your consistency. Your confidence is built by doing a certain skill over and over and over again with fidelity at a very high level, right? So you can't gain more confidence if you haven't done the thing that you say that you can do. And your consistency means that I am going to stay with it regardless, and I'm going to keep showing up, because the work is sometimes not always evident in the immediate fruits that I can see externally, but the work might also be working on me. Therefore, I am going to remain consistent in what it is that I said I was going to do, so that I could eventually start seeing the monetary fruits. Now, the reason why all of this is so important, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies rather, is because you want to have this as a foundational support to the pitch that you are going to provide. But you cannot have an effective pitch if you do not have clarity in your mission and confidence about what you're able to do. And and then have the consistency to carry that thing out to the end. So let's get into it. Today, you're going to understand how to create a compelling pitch that yields high quality prospects. You're also going to be able to leverage multiple mediums to share your message and land dream clients. And you're going to position yourself for profitability with easy to implement pitches that attract decision makers who will say yes to your offers. So if you are ready, go ahead and put ready in the chat and let's get into it. And I love the way you all are engaging. That is one of the things that I always recommend whenever we're on these virtual experiences. Lovely Marshall says, stabilize yourself, your family, and stabilize the community. Yes, yes, absolutely. So yes, do well so you can do good. All right, I see ready, 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 ready. Y'all mind, I'm free, okay? I want to make sure that you all don't feel like, this is just a stuffy presentation. I want you all to connect in the way that feels most authentic to you. So let's keep going. When we are inside of the world of education, we operate under something that's called a problem of practice. And that's when an area that a school or school district identifies that focuses on the instructional core is directly observable and is actionable and connects to a broader strategy of improvement. So what does all of that jargon mean? That means that when you identify a problem of practice, that is the first step and element of your instructional rounds. So how do we then connect that back to the entrepreneurial experience? That means that the problem of practice that I have seen inside of entrepreneurs in general is they don't understand what to say, they don't know how they should say it, and they don't know who they should say it to. I am going to answer all of those questions for you today inside of our experience, because the problem of practice that we are focused on in our instructional round today is what to say and how to say it through a profitable pitch. Now, what should you say? I want you to know that the quality of your content depends on the clarity of your message. So I want you to stop fumbling over your words and say exactly what your ideal clients need to hear and understand in order to work with you. Many of us are guilty of not being concise and precise with our words when we have opportunities to pitch to clients that we desire to work with. I'm going to help you with that today, starting with our value proposition. Many of you all may already have this, so take this as an opportunity to rework what you say and how you say it when you are introducing yourself or your company to another business owner with whom you could potentially do business. So your value proposition is a simple statement that clarifies who you are as a company, whom you serve, and what problem you solve. That's it. Those three things. And I love to tell my clients and my students that, because I teach, right? I teach these things inside of my own personal containers for business. I teach them 35 words or less. We don't need more than 35 words when you are introducing your company. These 35 words should carry you when you are initially introducing yourself at in-person or virtual networking events. It should also play a large role on your website, and it should be one of the first things that your potential buyer hears from you. Now, here is the value proposition formula. I help, or I accelerate, I amplify, I move, and then you're going to say who that person is that you help move, accelerate, or amplify. Do you move an industry, a person, or specific people that you serve, or a specific type of audience? And what do you move them to or from or by? Meaning that you're going to either move them further away from pain or closer to a certain level of pleasure through the result that you provide. So what do you help them to do? So let's put all of that together. I help leading organizations that value high performance teams to eradicate toxicity, accelerate productivity, and decrease operational costs. Notice what I have in that example. Actually, you all put what you notice in that example while I'm talking. But one of the things that I want you to see is I kept it short. I do a plethora of things. The list is long. I have so many skills and talents, as do you, as do does everyone else that I'm talking to on this call. However, they don't want to hear the laundry list of what you're able to do. They want to know, what proven results can you help me to achieve within a specific time frame? And that's what your value proposition does the heavy lifting for. Okay. Yeah. So Kathy says she notices that it is high impact. One of the things that I want you to understand is that when you are saying how you help to solve a problem, you also need to be very specific on who you solve that problem for. So eradicate, accelerate, and decrease, because what businesses mainly want to know is how to save time, how to save money, how to advance an initiative or a cause. And they also want to know how your product or service can actually help them to accomplish said things. Now, here's another example. I help experts, coaches, consultants, and authors add 6 figures to their revenue with corporate contracts so they can finally experience consistent, predictable income. Notice that I'm hitting on pain points here. First, I'm telling you who I help: experts, coaches, consultants, and authors, those 4 categories, because authors sometimes don't realize that they're experts. And experts can also be authors. So that's why I decided to go with 4 instead of 3, because authors are a certain subset of experts. They just need to understand how to roll their expertise into a package that could help a business. And because it shouldn't stop at a book, right? Because if you're writing a book, you're writing something that you're an expert in as far as nonfiction is concerned. So I want to make sure that they know they're included in this. And then experience consistent, predictable income. This is a pain point, ladies. When you are thinking about how you speak to your target audience, highlighting one of the main pain points that they want to eradicate from their business is something that you are going to want to make sure is inside of your value proposition. So I see here it says, I love that you have that the people that describe themselves differently. Absolutely. So when you're doing your market research and as you're moving through servicing clients, what are the major pain points that you typically see that they need help with and that they're consistently asking you for? That's one way for you to think about how you would add that into your value proposition. So let's get into an example. One of my current students had a very, very copious way in which she described her business. So she says that the TELUS Groups helps healthcare, energy, and aerospace companies experiencing mergers or acquisitions keep team members aligned, engaged, and prepared for change. Our communications planning and training frameworks helps employees remain productive and companies remain profitable. That's beautiful. She described much of what she is able to do. However, it is not memorable, it is not concise, and it doesn't do the job of bending the ear of your preferred buyer. And that's what we want our value proposition to do. So we went back and we revised it, and this is what we came up with. We partner with healthcare, energy, and aerospace companies to eliminate the potentially damaging effects of employee disruption caused by mergers and acquisitions. So guess what? We narrowed it down to 3 different areas on which she wants to focus. We said, okay, what companies, what types of companies, what types of industries are you most interested in working with? So we put those there. That doesn't mean that she's excluding anyone else, because naturally there are going to be people attracted to you that are outside of the industry that you immediately service. And sometimes they still end up being great fit clients, sometimes not. So you want to be specific about the types of people you serve, and then you want to be specific about exactly what you do. What we do is eliminate the potentially damaging effects of employee disruption. And that disruption happens in the form of mergers and acquisitions, because she's very specific in the type of communication that she utilizes and how she helps people who are going through, or businesses that are going through, mergers and acquisitions. So we have a couple of different revised ones here, but this is the one she ended up going with. So are you all seeing that you can say exactly who you are and how you serve, but it doesn't have to sound exactly like the examples that I use? There can be some tweaks to it, but the main thing is it needs to be one sentence, 35 words or less. Why? Because people are naturally going to say, tell me more. Or, oh, that strikes a nerve. That strikes a chord. I'm interested in learning more. Now, it is going to be your turn. We're not going to do this in real time because I know we only have an hour and I want to make sure we have some Q&A time at the end. But if you scan this QR code, you'll be able to access several different free resources that accompany this particular training. So once you go inside of that folder, and I'm leaving it up here so that you all can grab that, and I'll share the link at the end for those of you who aren't able to access the QR code right now. But this is going to have in there a value proposition template. And that template, and I'm going to be a little bit disorganized here and just show you what that template looks like. It's going to look like this: value proposition planning template. And this resource is going to give you the formula, give you some examples, and give you some strong verbs. And those verbs are going to help you to further ideate over what your value proposition might be. Okay. So that's what this particular resource is going to do, to give you some words that pop, right? Not just some words that are on the page and don't mean much and don't compel many people. Okay. So that's what you'll see. Now I'm going to continue presenting here. So the question is, what is a pitch? Now that you have your clarity through your value proposition, what is the actual pitch part? A pitch is a well-crafted, succinct statement that positions you for a future business opportunity. And you pitch once you have a solution. So many of you all have said in the chat that you are more than 3 years in business, which means that you likely have a solution that you provide on a regular basis. Now, the question is that solution selling the way it needs to sell? Because if it's not selling the way it needs to sell, it's likely the positioning of your messaging. And we'll talk about that here shortly. If you are in a business where that's only been established for anywhere from 1 to 3 years, you're probably still tweaking your solution, to be quite honest. Just because you create a solution doesn't mean that, one, you enjoy continuing to give that particular solution, or two, that you have that solution completely figured out and where it runs sufficiently on its own, right? Because one of the areas that we want to try to get to is eventually that particular solution being able to run itself. You, as the CEO of your company, should be able to take a step back and your company still runs on your behalf, offering the solution that you provide. That means that you're eventually taking yourself out of the picture when it comes to providing a physical service. So some of you all are coaches, consultants, authors, and experts. Others of you have a physical business that you operate. I saw somebody say they had a janitorial service inside of the chat, for example. Either way it goes, as you start building up team and as you start building up your sales department, you are removing yourself from some of that so that you can be the CEO of your company. So the CEO of the company operates a lot differently than a practitioner within the company. And even though I'm still an active practitioner, I also hire on people who can do services on my behalf because I want multiplication. That's the name of the game, multiplication. All right. So here we are at the system piece. If you do not have a system in place to sell your services or to sell your solution, then you're not going to be in business for long. And if you have been in business and you know that you are lacking systems in a particular area, there are certain indicators that let me know that your systems aren't necessarily working. One, you're walking away from your desk or from the day-to-day of your job tired, frustrated, annoyed, all of these things, or you're really trying to scramble to figure out a way to earn more time back or to gain more freedom. The reason why we create businesses in the first place is not so we can be tied down to another job, but so that we can create the freedom that we desire for ourselves, so we can go on that next vacation without having to check our calendar, or so that we can take a trip somewhere without having to answer to anyone or specifically take time off. We build businesses for freedom. That is the real cheat code. It's not even really about money. It is about the freedom that you possess to make your own decisions inside of your business. But if you do not have systems in place, you will continue to be tied to your computer or continue to be tied to your employees where you can't take any time away for yourself. So systems are the next piece. And then your sales strategy. This is the way a typical sales strategy works. You start out with leads, meaning this is the open big part of your funnel, if you will. If you think, for those of you who cook or bake or anything like that, you know what a funnel is and how it's used inside of a kitchen. It has a big mouth at the top, and then as the funnel comes down, it gets more and more narrow. I want you to think about your business in the same way. Your pitch, if you will, is going to bring in leads. Your value proposition is also going to bring in leads. And those leads then turn into prospects, which means now they have gone from awareness of you to interested in doing business alongside you. And those prospects then become clients. And those clients are the people who have exchanged money for the service or the product that you provide. And then some of those clients want even more exclusivity, which means that they turn into more of a VIP client where you're offering them more of yourself or more access to something, and they're paying you at a higher rate in return. So when you're thinking about your sales strategy, do you have something in place for your leads, meaning people to come and find out about you, for your prospects, meaning your sales or your discovery calls or opportunities for people to understand that they can actually buy from you? And then your clients, do you have an actual client journey that accompanies this part? Once they become your client, then what happens? Regardless of whether it's a one-time purchase or a multi-year experience alongside that particular client, there needs to be some type of client journey. And then the VIP, not as many people go through there, right? So that's where the narrowness comes from. But you might have a VIP experience for your clients who want a little bit more luxury or want a little bit more access, and they will pay you gladly for you to take something off of their plate or make their lives better in some way. Okay. All right. Y'all still with me? Put I'm with you in the chat if you're still with me. Y'all are quiet. I mean, that must mean that you all are paying attention and taking notes. But here is the anatomy of a pitch. We talked through what a pitch actually is. Good. I see that you all are still with me. The anatomy of a pitch is actually quite simple. You have a warm pitch, and then you have something called a cold pitch. Let's talk about warm pitches. Your immediate network is where your warm pitches reside. People who are actually in your phone that you can touch, and people who may even be on LinkedIn and you're connected with them there. You may have done some work with them in the past. And also warm introductions by colleagues. You make a cold pitch warm by asking for an introduction. Guess what? Because there's already trust there, the people who you're being introduced are more likely to hire you for services because you've been referred by somebody else who they already know and trust. So warm introductions can happen via current or previous clients or other people who you already know who hold positions that can actually do something on your behalf. Warm introductions can also happen by friends with leverage. So people who already hold a position at a particular company who can also hire you for services, or they can walk you through the door to the person who is able to do that on their behalf. Now, a cold pitch is research-based, and it is aligned with the types of companies that you want to do business with. When you do a cold pitch, you're not just picking the 10 highest revenue generating companies. That's not how this works. You're going to decide whether or not the company is aligned not only with your core values, but also with the type of service that you actually provide. So we want specific metrics that you're going to research, and that includes one, their annual revenue, because you don't want to work with companies who've only been in business for a short period of time and may only be earning a few $1,000s every month. Because guess what? They're probably going to be strapped for cash when it comes to paying for your service. What you want is to find businesses that have healthy revenues. That doesn't necessarily mean they need to be a Fortune 100 or 500 or Fortune 50 company. That's not all that exists inside of corporations and B2B sales. You're a corporation, I'm a corporation, but I want you all to remember that small businesses are still making $40 million or less. Small businesses still have 100 employees or less. So I want you to write in your range on how you think and feel and approach these companies. So annual revenue is a thing because you want to make sure they have line items and budgets that can support what you're doing. And then also special populations. So maybe you are specifically servicing women-based businesses, or maybe you are specifically servicing a specific population. So maybe it is marginally represented people, for example. Those are considered special populations, but you need to decide that before you make your pitch. Now, there's also something known as a video pitch, which is one of my favorites. This is where you are actually humanizing your pitch. When you humanize your pitch, you're going to make sure of a few things, especially if you're doing this via LinkedIn or via email. You're first going to clean your phone lens because you don't have to go and get a professional camera to do this. We live in an age of technology where we really have great resources right at our fingertips. So you're going to clean that phone lens, you're going to smile, give a brief intro of yourself, i.e., value proposition, and then you're going to state the specific reason why you're connecting and end with a question related to their work or something on their profile. Because remember, when you are pitching to companies and corporations or either other smaller businesses, it's still a human on the other end. And that's what I want us to embrace. We're not talking to Procter and Gamble. We're not talking to Nike. We're not talking to Colgate. All of these different names that we know very well. We're talking to Veronica, who works at Colgate. We're talking to Sandy, who works at Nike. We're talking to Alicia that works at Procter and Gamble. So when you start giving people a name and you start treating them as humans, because they're going to be the ones making the decisions. We know them as decision makers, right? So you want to engage in a couple of exchanges, especially if you're doing this via social media, specifically on LinkedIn, right? Most of your right fit clients, for those of you who have service-based businesses, they're going to be on LinkedIn. Now, for those of you who have product-based businesses, you're likely going to find your ideal client in a more relaxed setting like Instagram or even Facebook in a lot of cases. And maybe you're running ads to find your right fit client. All right. So that's the video pitch. Now, the next question you might be asking, okay, so all right, I know warm pitch, cold pitch, video pitch. What about just straight up writing to people? That's also still a thing, ladies. When you write an email pitch, you are going to write in a way that gets your email opened. So before we even get to what you should have in your email pitch, I'm going to tell you what the subject line should be. So here's some subject lines that typically get open. So it might be company name. So Procter and Gamble compliance report. The reason why I use that is because if you are in compliance and that's a service that you provide, then they're probably going to want to know more about how you can provide that service or what you're going to be talking about. Because wait a minute, what? Am I not in compliance? So it's going to raise a flag in their head. Or unintentional fraud review, or Tiffany recommended that I get in touch, especially if you're working with a warm lead. That's a great title, if you will, and contacting you at Tiffany's suggestion. So these are some ways in which you can get your email opened. So that's the way we start. And then we are going to move into other more casual things like meeting today or hi, whatever their first name is. Hi, Veronica. So those are some ways that you can get your email open. So those pitch templates that I'm about to go over one of them with you right now, but you can also find them at that same QR code. Once you open that folder, there are 3 different documents inside of that folder. So you're going to go to the one that is marked pitch templates, and I am actually going to take you over there. Let me see if I can get out of this real quick, and I'm going to take you here. So this is the one you should be seeing, your sample cold pitch template. So this is the template here, and I'm not going to take up your time reading through the example or through the template, but I'm going to read you through the one where I filled in information. So if you're talking to private companies or corporations, you might say something like, "Hi, Nina, I'm Tiffany, and I help leading organizations that value high performance teams eradicate toxicity, accelerate productivity, and decrease operational costs. While conducting a bit of research on your firm, I noticed that you've lost nearly 30% of your staff over the last year. Usually, when this happens, workplace apathy is certain to cause an exodus of your key talent, leaving you short-staffed and filling vacancies with less than stellar replacements. So what did I do here? First, I used my value proposition, which was the very first thing we talked about. Then I started highlighting some things that I researched. You've lost nearly 30% of your staff. How do I know that? Because if I'm talking to a healthcare company in this particular example, I know that they publish certain things, especially if you're going after larger B2B networks. You know, in general, what certain numbers are, right? So just like we know the number of health crises we have in areas like AIDS and HIV, for example, you can go and look up that statistic. You might be able to look up other statistics that are industry specific and put that inside of your pitch. Now, usually when this happens, these are some of the outcomes: workplace apathy, and an exodus of your key talent. And what does that do? It gives you a bigger pain point. You're short-staffed and you are filling vacancies with people who you don't necessarily want to fill those vacancies with. Because my company specializes in fixing these types of concerns daily, I'm reaching out to serve as a resource. If retaining high-performing employees is a priority for your company, I'd love to schedule a brief call to learn more about your needs and share the resources that I have available. So I also highlight, retaining high-performing employees, because I know that you have an employee retention program that's not necessarily working, or you are just having an issue with people staying on the job past 6 months or past 9 months. I know that information. So I'm putting it here and I'm agitating the problem. And then I'm going to end with, "Are you available Thursday at 2 p.m.?" And the reason why I am saying that is because usually people skim emails and they don't read them completely. So they'll read the first part of your email and then they'll read some of the middle and they'll read the end. So if the end of my email is a question, it's more likely that people are going to answer your question. And I want them to know that I want to have a meeting with them if they are available. And does this work all of the time? No. But it works a good amount of the time, a good enough amount of the time for me to start having some sales calls, for people to have interest. But this is why you need to learn how to speak persuasively in your language. And it's not about getting them to buy something from you, but it's more so about painting a picture for them of what might happen if they don't take action. And you are the solution to the inaction. Are y'all still with me? Okay, perfect. All right. So let's go back then. You all have this at your fingertips now. Again, you have access to this. And I've gone through those samples now, and I want you to use that template to get through your own cold pitch. We won't do that here today. Now, the next piece is how you should actually say something. You should be landing at least 30% of the potential clients you connect with. And anything Less is a clue that your messaging needs to be reimagined. If people are accepting your calls and getting on a Zoom call with you, or meeting up with you for coffee, or meeting you at their office, and you're not closing those deals, for every 10 that you meet up with, you should be closing at least 3 of them. It might be through a phone conversation, or it may need to be an in-person experience. But if you're closing less than 3 of them, then you know you have a messaging problem. So one of the ways you fix that is to nail your discovery calls. And discovery calls can be in person, on Zoom, or via telephone. So that resource, which is the third resource, is also inside of that same folder. And again, the QR code is here. We won't go through that particular document in detail, but it is very specific and thorough. So you'll be able to glean what you need to from that. So those discovery call questions are going to be so important inside of there, because you're trying to onboard the decision maker at this point. Once you get on that first call, you ask them whether or not there's anyone else who should be on the call who's actually going to make the decision. Because if they're not on that first call, you want them to be on that follow-up call, and you're going to speak to their desires. And this is where you have the opportunity to define, develop, and deliver. You're going to define the pain that they're currently existing inside of by restating their deepest desires. And then you're going to develop the process. What is the high-level overview of how you could work together and help them to solve their problem? And then you're going to deliver the solution. And that means that you've developed the proposal that's going to get you hired. We won't go over proposals today, but this is a whole process, right? So when you're thinking about closing clients quickly, you want to turn your could-be clients into loyal repeat customers within weeks instead of months. And if you follow some of these steps that I've shared with you, along with the resources, this is going to help you familiarize yourself with how to do better with your messaging. So the last piece of this is landing your dream clients. You want to work with people that you actually enjoy instead of clients that you dread. And mastering the art of magnetic messaging will grant you the relief that you've been searching for, so that you can toss the regret of working with wrong fit clients. And I want you to put wrong fit in the chat. If you ever worked with a company or a client where you thought it was going to be great, but once you got into it, it was like, oh no, this is not it. I want out. Ugh, this contract can't end soon enough. I see y'all in the chat saying wrong fit, because it happens to the best of us. We can do all of the things in the world to get our right fit clients on board, but one wrong fit client likely is going to sneak through. So I want you to know that we're in the same family when it comes to this. Now, one of the ways that you try to avoid this is by talking to the right people. And so some of the contact titles that you need to be considering are like the Vice President of Community Development, or your Community Development Officer, if you're trying to do something that has to do with sponsorship, for example. But if you're wanting to do something specific to a particular organization within a company, or a particular department within a company, it's likely going to be the director of said industry. So the director of marketing, for example. And also, meeting professionals might be a good place to start. If you start developing relationships with meeting professionals, they know everybody. So don't fear becoming friends with the people who are considered their air quote gatekeepers, because they can give you access, but you need to make sure that you are also helping to cover their needs as well. And it might be the chief of something, right? It's usually not the CEO, especially when you get to the Fortune 500 companies, for example. You're not going to be speaking to the CEO at that point. You're going to be speaking to someone that is anywhere from 1 to 5 levels lower than they are, but they still hold some type of managerial position, usually like the vice president, but the title kind of varies depending on the organization. Okay. Yes. Kathy says gatekeepers can be your friend. Absolutely. So make sure you understand that when you're moving in these particular places. Now, who can actually use your messaging after you get your value proposition together, after you prepare your pitch? Who are the people who can actually use what you have? I want you to think beyond what you're currently doing and start exploring other industries. Just because you've always worked in one industry doesn't mean that's where you have to stay. So, health systems, nonprofits, chambers, educational entities, chains, oil and gas, small businesses. There's so many industries out here, and some of them are untapped. Some of them aren't tapped on enough. So, outside of just thinking in the terms of what are the big businesses I can go after, there are medium-sized businesses who are making, or small businesses even, who have a $5 million return in revenue every single year, who have $25,000 to work with you on a single project, and you don't have to work that project yourself. You might pass it off to one of your employees, and making sure that you're profitable with your margins while employing someone else to do the work on your behalf. So that's where I want us to get to. And I want us to remember that pitching opens doors to relationships, revenue, and repeat business, which is what we want. So I want you to start your pitch journey today.